याली मदद याली मदद बहुत खूब बहुत नवाजिश तमाम साथियों को याली मदद and thank you for joining us today. Let's begin with the name of Imam Zaman. Ya Mola-e Mehraban, Ya Mola-e Mehraban, Madad Farma, Madad Farma. Ya Mola-e Mehraban, Madad Farma, Ya Mola-e Mehraban, Madad Farma, Madad Farma. नूर मौलाना शाह रहीमुल हुसैनी हाजिर इमाम या मौला तौफीक ताईद हिम्मत व यारी मौला तौफीक ताईद हिम्मत व यारी मौला या मौलाए ज़मान या इमाम ज़मान हर हमेशा हम गरीबों को अपने नूरानी साए के अंदर रखना मौला हर हमेशा अपना मुबारक दस्ते मुबारक हम गरीबों पर रखना मौला ताकि हम कोई खातिर खा इल्म का काम कर सके या मौला तेरी मदद के बगैर हम गरीब और नाचीज कुछ भी नहीं और ना ही कुछ कर सकते हैं मौला या मौलाए मेहरबान मदद फरमा मौला बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम We will continue on our session 13, the concept of Imam in the Quran, the recognition of Imam. This will be our part 2 of this session. Yesterday, we talked about the promise of Allah to guide the humanity and how Imams are always present, and always present. Regardless of those who see him and regardless of those who do not see him, regardless of those who accept him and regardless of those who do not accept him, regardless of those who follow him and regardless of those who wish not to follow him. As Allah is present everywhere and always, Al-Hayyul Qayyum, His Noor, the manifested Imams, are always present by the Amr of Allah. He has chosen and selected the Imams from Ale Ibrahim, Ale Imran, and they are Nuran ala Nur, always present. Always present. And this is how Allah guides the humanity, the one who submits, Muslimin, and those who believe, the followers. It is our free will. Otherwise, Allah's rahmat, mercy, His guidance, and His nur is always present and always guiding. We will begin our session, this part 2, with the very first farman of Nur Maulana Shah Karimul Hussaini, Imamul Waqt, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. That is in Geneva, July 13, 1957. And here, after reading the Farman, I will highlight a couple of points as we did yesterday with another of his Farman. Why do we need to repeat this Faramin for the Jamaat, for the listeners? It is important because those who may remember one time and have forgotten, and those new generation who may have never laid their eyes on this kind of Faramin, then it becomes important for them to know and to understand. And remember, we are preparing a ground for our new generation. And when I say we, that includes you, the grandparents, includes you, the parents, and include you who are older. So through you, inshallah, they will receive this inspiration that if my grandparents, my parents, and my elders can do this, then I can do this too. You are living by example. Because if you tell your children to do all this thing and you do not want to invest yourself into it by time and your dedication, then you are living a bad example for them. But inshallah, I see you as a dedicated murid of the Imam Zaman who want to live by example. So let's come and read this Farman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. My beloved spiritual children, my grandfather dedicated his life to the Imamat and Islam, both of which for him always came first and above all other consideration. Shah Karim, after taking the seat of the Imamat on July 13th, this is 2 days after the passing of the Jama from his grandfather, Hazrat Imam Aga Sultan Muhammad Shah, Salawatullah alayhi, may our soul be sacrificed to that Imam. The 49th Imam, talking about his grandfather, the 40th Imam, that he had dedicated his entire life for the Imamat and the Islam, as Imamul Muttaqeen for the Ismailis and Imamul Nas for the Ummah. And both of this role as Imamul Muttaqeen and Imamul Nas came to him first and above all other considerations, meaning this was the most important part of his life. Then quoting the 40th Imam, Shah Karim said, ever since the time of my first ancestor, Ali, the first Imam, that is to say, over a period of 1300 years, it has always been the tradition of our family that each Imam chooses his successor at his absolute and unfettered discretion from amongst any of his descendants, whether they be sons or remoter male issue. And in these circumstances, and in the view of the fundamentally altered conditions in the world in very recent years, due to the great changes which have taken place, including the discoveries of atomic science, I am convinced that it is in the best interest of the Shia Muslim Ismailia community that I should be succeeded by a young man who has been brought up and developed during recent years and in the midst of the new age, and who brings a new outlook on the life to his office as Imam. This is taken from the will of the 40th Imam, and here quoted by the 49th Imam, Shah Karim, in which Shah Sultan, in his will, is declaring the Shah Karim as the new Imam of the time by saying that this has been our tradition of our family and the Imams, the Imam Barhaq, in all time, in every time, dated all the way back to our cycle, the sixth cycle, the first Imam, Mullah Ali. That every Imam chooses his successor. No one else can choose, select, and appoint and give an amr to the Imam, but the Imam of the time himself. He and he alone can do that. He and him alone can do that. And he can choose from any male he wish from the Nurani family. And this time, Imam says, I believe that a young Imam should be an Imam, and your 49th Imam, so he may guide the Jamaat according to this new time, the great changes that have taken place in this world, including the science, the technology after that. And he chose Shah Karim to be the Imam. As an Ismaili, we follow the wish and the will of the Imam-e-Zaman. And there is no question, and there cannot be any question when it comes to the decision of the Imam-e-Zaman. May it be the selection of the Imam or any other farman on the religious matter. There cannot be. But then you would say that you have always emphasized that we should ask question. But here you are saying there cannot be a question. So which one is true? And how do we understand both sides? in one place that you must ask question, and here you cannot ask question. How do we understand that? When Imam gives a farman, the first duty of the mu'min is to say Ameen, Labbaik, accept and submit without any question. And then if they do not understand how, and we do not use the word why, because why is argumental, and there cannot be argument between a mu'min and murshid. But how is allowed? And how do you ask that? Ya Mullah, how do I understand this? Humbly asking the question. In Shah Rahim, in his first farman, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, gives us that permission that if you have a concern, if you have a question, come to the Imam of the time. You see that? When you have a concern, when you have a question, but the question cannot be why he chose that. That cannot be the question. The question can be, how do I understand this? Do you see that? You cannot ask why, but you can always ask how. How? So here, the question can be, how do we understand when there is a principle, the core fundamental principle of Nurun ala Nur in the Quran, which is the center of the Imamat and Ismaili Tariqah. One Imam after the other. Then how do we understand that? So when in 1957, the Shah Karim was declared an Imam, one or few of the Jamaat asked that question. How do we understand that? So the son of the 48th Imam and the father of the 49th Imam, the Honorable and the Great Prince Ali Khan himself went to those Jamaats, especially in Syria. The Pendal, the Didar Hall was full. And in the short words, and I'm just paraphrasing here, he instantly came to the mic and asked the Jamaat, do you believe that I am your Imam? And Jamaat says, Labbaik, yes, we do. Upon that, he said, then it is my command to you that Shah Karim, my son, is your 49th Imam, and you submit to him. And instantly Jamaat said what? Labbaik, Ameen. And they submit themselves and their bayah to the 49th Imam, Shah Karim al-Husseini Hazar Imam of the time, the Imam Barhaq in the line of Imamat. Do you see and understand the example? That asking question is not an issue, but how you ask question is important. But then there cannot be argument or disagreements between a murid and a murshid. Because murid submits and follow. Murshid guides and give amr. And there cannot be a question, but a concern after submitting is allowed. After submitting. Let's take the example of Allah, Adam, and Iblis. And remember the example I just gave you and the scenario I just presented to you from 1957. When Allah amred to submit to the Adam, all of the angels, all of the Jamaat of the time submitted, but one small Jamaat did not. So their representative, in this example, Iblis, was asked, what made you not submit? And he showed his concern. That, Ya Mullah, this is a human, a mustajib. He is not from the Nurani family, nor he is amongst the angels and elites. How could I submit to him when I have all of your ilm and understanding? Allah said, this is my amr. This is my amr, and this is my absolute and unfettered discretion that I choose who would be my Khalifa, my vicegerent, my messenger, and who would be Adam. So submit to him. At that point, what happened in Syria and what happened at the time of Adam will clearly defined for your understanding. He argued with Allah. And he argued. And what was not allowed? Argument and disagreement between the murid and murshid is not allowed. And he said, why him? Why not me? Why him? Why him? Why did you pick him? Why did you choose him? Why not me? Argument is not allowed. And that's what made him Iblis and outcasted. Because when a murid, a follower, a believer, at one point or the other thinks that he knows more than the Imam, God forbid, then he can no longer be the murid of the Imam. Because Imam is Akle Kul and we are Akle Juz. He is Imam Mubin, Imam Barhaq, and we are his slave, Ghulam, murid, bande. But you, as a gulam and momin and banda, can definitely ask how, but cannot argue against the imam. Because at that point, the relationship between murshid and a murid breaks and is no longer a bond between imam and the murid. Because at one point, murid thought he knew more than the imam, and now he is outcasted. So these two examples should give you a great understanding of how imams are selected, how prophets, messengers, Adams are made, and how we must submit ourselves to the farman of the imam, because Allah have chosen the Ibrahim and Ale Ibrahim, Imran and Ale Imran. And Imam is Ale Nabi Aulade Ali, the Imam Barhak, true Imam, and we are the fortunate murid of the Imam Zaman. It is his blessing upon us that we are where we are. Let me continue with the Farman. And if you have any other question, you can always ask. Get ready to ask, or you can put it in the chat and we will get to it. Imam says, in the last month that I have spent with my grandfather, and in our many other times together, I have been privileged to work with him, and his guidance and wisdom will be of a great help to me. My aim in the future will be to continue the vast work of my grandfather, and I will do all in my power for the welfare and the betterment of our community, its economic and financial institution, maternity homes, boys and girls school, hospitals, trusts, clubs, and European and American scholarship. In this paragraph, Imam is promising to the Jamaat that as the 40th Imam was dear and near you, I will follow on his footsteps. And in his next Farman, he says, I will be worthy of this. That he will prove himself to be following on the steps of his grandfather. Remember, each Imam in itself may be a different Imam, and he may take a lot of different steps, new journey, new enlightenment, new understanding according to time and the place. But at the same time, the core of the religion, the core of the belief does not change. Each Imam follow on the footstep of the previous Imam. When it comes to the fundamental principle and the core of the Islam and our tariqah never changes. But the changes are made by each Imam according to the time and the place both. Meaning, if it's a time changes, then it will apply to the all Jamaat of the world. If it's the changes of the place, it may apply to the one Jamaat or few of the Jamaat, not all the Jamaat. But that is decided by the only one person, and that is Imam Zaman. So what is the lesson in this one? We always follow the farman of the Imam Zaman. And only Imam Zaman can tell us what to do and what not to do. If anyone other than Imam comes to you and tells you this is not right or this is right, you refer back to the Imam. You refer back to the Imam Zaman. You refer back to the farman of the Imam and see if this is under the farman of the Imam. If it is, then go ahead. If it's not under the farman of the Imam, it does not matter who's telling you this. Does not matter what his title is. Does not matter who he claims to be. If it's not under the farman of the Imam, as a murid, you cannot follow. We only follow on the footstep of the Imam and Imam Zaman. Then Imam says at the end, I will do everything possible for your worldly and spiritual upliftment, as you were in my beloved grandfather's heart and thought, you will be in mine. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. That is the promise of Imam to the Jamaat. What is our promise to the Imam? Our promise, our bayat to the Imam is, Ya Mola, as long as you are my guide, and as long as you guide me, as long as I am living, I will follow you and you only. As you are my guide, my spiritual father and mother, and you are my light and the nur, and on your footstep on the Sirat al-Mustaqim that you have defined, I will walk on. I will not do anything which you do not want me to do. I will not follow the farman of any other person, regardless of who they are and what they claim to be. I will follow on your footstep, your farman. You are my Mola, and you are my guide. You are my spiritual father, and you are my spiritual mother. And to you and you alone, our tawakkul, our trust is. That is our side. That is the two-side bayat now. Imam on one side will guide us, and we will follow on the other side. Now we have a bond with the Imam Zaman. So we have 3 ayat, and the first one, we will go into detail of that, and you will see that how important the lesson is in this ayat. The second reference, the 2435, we have given the lecture on this so many times. And if there is anyone amongst you who have not listened to those lectures one time or the other, make sure you request English or Urdu recorded lesson from Kamadiya Sahib or the admin of this channel, and they will share with you. And then third one we will talk about in a minute. So total here, we are talking about the references of the Noor of the Imam in the Quran. There are 8 references in this 3 ayat. One in 22 Surah, ayat number 8. And then there are 5 time references in the ayah Mizwa, the Surah 24, ayat number 35. You will find the mention of the Noor 5 times. And then same Surah, ayah number 40, where you will find the Noor reference twice. So let's come and look at 22:8, which is the lesson for the day. And do not forget to find and listen to the detailed lectures on Ayah Mizwa, Surah Nur, and the core principle of Nuran ala Nur. Explanation in the book of the recognition of Imam of Surah 22, ayat number 8 and 9 combinedly. The light of the Imam of the time is the luminous book. It is the Noor of the Imam, which is called kitāb munīr, the luminous book in the Quran, in these verses, where God says, and among the mankind is he who dispute concerning God without knowledge or guidance or a luminous book, turning away in pride to beguile from the way of God. Short example and understanding. Allah is speaking to those. And who amongst the Muslimin, amongst the kitāb, amongst the people of the one faith, one God, meaning all of the religion of the Abrahamic tradition, ever argue against Allah and dispute concerning God? No one. But they do argue and dispute against the embodied Noor, the Adam Zaman, Imam Ali, and Ali Zaman, Imam Zaman. They do argue against them. So here, the Tawil of the God is embodied Noor, the manifested Noor, Imam Mubin, Imam Zaman. And they argue without any knowledge or any guidance or any luminous Nurani kitāb. And they think they know more than Imam, so they are turning away in pride, away from the embodied Noor, the manifested God, the Imam Zaman. He is the mother manifestation of Allah. Turning away from the Imam is turning away from the Quran, is turning away from the Rasul, and by default, and at the end, turning away from the God Himself. Because it is Allah who have chosen the Ale Imran and Ale Ibrahim and Imam Zaman. And who does that? Iblis does that. Mu'mineen and angels do not turn away from Allah or the Adam or the Imam Zaman. And I'm saying this very clearly, and I do understand this has been recorded, that no one turned away from the Amr-e Ilahi but Iblis. No one refused to submit to the Adam when Amr-e Ilahi comes. And no one turns away from the Amr-e Ilahi, the Ale Ibrahim, Ale Imran, Imam of the time, but Iblis. Because when Amr comes, and when Allah said, submit to my will, to the Adam Zaman, all of the angels, Mu'mineen, submits, but Iblis. The ta'wil of this verse is that nobody can debate and discuss about the recognition of God without the recognition of Da'i, the Hujjat, and the Imam of the time. For in this verse, the Da'i is the knowledge, the Hujjat is the guidance, and the Imam is the Nurani book, luminous book. And they are on the level of knowledge of certainty, meaning ilmul yaqeen, the knowledge of the Da'i. So without ilmul yaqeen, they argue about the manifested God. That is the vision of certainty, ainul yaqeen, without the guidance of the Hujjatan and peers. And the lastly, vision of certainty, ainul yaqeen, the truth of certainty, haqqul yaqeen, without the nur, the farman, and the amr of the speaking Quran, Imam Zaman, respectively. This means that the Da'i inviting people through the knowledge of certainty hands them over to the Hujjat, who guiding them through the vision of certainty, ainul yaqeen, enables them to reach to the luminous recognition of the Imam, who clearly shows them he is Imam Mubin, all the realities of the physical and spiritual existence from the luminous book of his light, his nur, as Imam Mubin, evident, clear, manifested Imam. And there cannot be argument regarding the manifested Imam, because that is the will and the wish and the amr of Allah in the Quran, in the holy books. So here I will stop, and there are some notes on the bottom if we wish to take a screenshot of that. That how ilm meaning dai meaning ilmul yaqeen, the certainty of knowledge. Hidayat means hujjat, the peer, and ul yaqeen, the certainty of eyes or vision. The kitāb munīr means imam, haqqul yaqeen, the certainty of truth, the imam mubin. Those are the same three levels of Imam Shanasi, recognition of Imam. The bottom line, the last word, no one can recognize the Imam without the ilm of the da'i, hidayat of the hujjat, and the kitāb munīr, the speaking Qur'an. So let me stop here.